All right, welcome to the Bulldawg World Order 2015, and we're here with Magnum.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Long time no see. Well, technically, I don't see you, but long time no speak. Let's put it like that. But anyways, Uncle Lou will be here around 5:20. He got held up at work, so hopefully he'll be calling in roughly about 20 minutes. But let's jump right into some news. Hadn't spoken with you guys in a long time, and lots gone on since the last show. Shit, been a while. Been to watched the spring game, and we just recently had a transfer. What's his name? Grayson Lambert, a transfer quarterback from the University of Virginia. He brings in a ton of experience. He's if I'm not mistaken, I think he's a graduate transfer. He'd be eligible to play immediately. And Ray, do you know anything? I mean, I know a little bit about him, but have you heard anything about this guy at all? I mean,
No, I really don't know anything.
It's still kind of fairly new news, so I was just wondering if you heard anything.
No, I don't know. I do not know anything. I do apologize.
Oh, that's cool. But I do know. I think he. I was trying to remember his stats off the top of my head. I think he threw 10 or 11 touchdowns. I can't remember. Like I said, it's still a fairly new story to me, so I'm still trying to learn as I go about this guy. But he brings a ton of experience, and I was kind of agreeing with what Uncle Lou said a long time ago, where I don't really think we had a starting quarterback on our roster. I think we had 3 backups. I was never really sold with Jacob Park. Now, I will admit that there was a time where I thought Jacob Park would possibly win the starting job. Well, it's looking like I'm going to be wrong there. Ramsey has the better arm of the 3 we had before Lambert. But, I mean, Ramsey looked a little, erratic at times. I know he got limited playing time last year, but he looked a little erratic. And then you got Fatan Balta, who only played maybe 2 or 3 snaps all year last year as well. So we didn't have a ton of experience. And Grayson Lambert, I do know that we recruited him out of high school. He ended up going to Virginia, but I do know that we recruited him. I can't remember exactly how heavily we recruited him, but I remember hearing his name. So I do know he's from Georgia. That I didn't know. I didn't actually know he was from Georgia until I heard that he was going to be transferring here. I did not know that. So apparently he has ties to Georgia, which is a good thing. So I think with the experience he's bringing to the table, the only thing I'm worried about is, since it's this late, how well will he get to know the playbook before the season starts? That's my question. What can he learn before the season starts? Because we got a few quarterbacks there that know the playbook in and out, and then we got the problem of Jacob Hart announced a few days ago he was going to be transferring, but now the coaches are doing everything they can to try to keep him at UGA. But since Lambert transferred to UGA, we got 4 quarterbacks now. So I just think somebody's going to transfer, and I think it's going to be Jacob Park. He's already brought it up and said he was going to leave. So I think at the end of the day, he's actually probably going to be the one to transfer, because somebody ain't going to see the field. And the quarterbacks and players in general today, they want to play. They don't want to constantly sit on the bench. And I know Jacob Park was a redshirt freshman, so he's still got plenty of eligibility left. So, I mean, I really can't blame the guy. He wants to go somewhere where he can play. And I was talking to a couple friends, and I told him straight up, I was like, watch, if Mike Bobo comes calling from Colorado State, he's gone just like that. Because, Bobo's the one that recruited Jacob Park. So I guarantee you, if Bobo comes calling and offers him a starting job, he's probably gone for sure. I mean, I can honestly say I would probably do the same thing. If I'm on a team where I'm back in the depth chart, and I know if there was a good possibility I wouldn't get to play at all, I would want to play on a team where I could get, ample amount of playing time right away. I mean, wouldn't you do the same, Ray? Like if you knew that you was going to be, let's say third string quarterback, and you wasn't going to see a lot of playing time, and here comes a lesser known team, but you get offered a starting role, would you take it?
Yes, I certainly would. I mean, you'd be a fool not to.
Yeah, exactly. And and some of these guys, I mean, yeah, they're about the education, but let's be honest here. A lot of these guys play college football, to get to that next level and make their careers, as a player in the NFL. Now, most of the time that's not going to really happen with your average player, but that's the goal of a lot of these guys. So, they want to go play for somebody where they can get a good bit of playing time and show the scouts what they got, and that was one of the reasons Hudson Mason was going to transfer several years ago. But Rick talked him into staying and redshirted him to give him a year of eligibility after Murray left, and Hudson got his time to start. And believe it or not, and I really can't believe that an NFL team actually gave him a shot, but he was actually the Redskins actually picked him up and gave him an opportunity, and just a couple days ago he was waived by the Redskins, but the Redskins actually gave him a shot. So, I mean, you just never know. I mean, you get a chance to start in college football and the scouts see you, or, a good possibility at least the team's going to give you your shot to see what you got. So if Jacob Park ends up transferring, I won't blame him a bit. But that's just me, though. I know a lot of people would be mad and say, "Oh, he was never a real dog to begin with if he transferred." You guys need to stop that shit. These kids, they come to play football. They don't come to sit on the bench their entire careers. I mean, I guarantee you, if most of you guys were in that same situation, you do the exact same thing. So let's cut out that white knight noble bullshit. These kids want to play football. So that's one thing I'm just tired of hearing. I mean, I see it on a lot of Georgia websites. I see it on a lot of Georgia groups on Facebook. It's like if a player just does something that the fan does not agree with, it's automatically shame on him, or he was never a real dog to begin with. I just hate people like that. I mean, these are, people forget, these are, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. I mean, these guys haven't even, made it to the real world yet. You got 40 and 50-year-old people downing kids. I don't know about you, but I just find that disgusting. Me personally.
I agree. But they're just as bad in the NFL. I know in Jacksonville, every time that the coach makes a decision, everybody hates it. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, with me, I'm the only time I really, even with those, all right, for example, Todd Gurley's situation last year, signing autographs, I didn't go out there. I wasn't one of the ones crucifying, Todd Gurley. All it was is it was an autograph. And the thing is, he manned up. He admitted to his mistake, and he served his time like a man, took responsibility. Well, your average college football player, take for example Jameis Winston. What a prick! But he sat there and just denied everything, was just arrogant about the whole thing, was acting a fool, and like you said, even some players in the NFL, they don't man up, they don't take responsibility for their actions. But Gurley was one of the few that's done that, and it's not like he went out and done what a lot of these players are doing now, rape people and assaulting folks, stealing stuff. It was a freaking autograph, and people want to condemn players just for the simplest thing. That I can go on and on about that, but that shit just pisses me off. I mean, you guys need to grow up. if you're a fan of the team, be a fan of the team. I mean, you're supposed to. I mean, I understand now if a player fucks up bad. Like rape charges or stealing stuff or whatever. If that goes on, yeah, by all means, let's kick the guy off the team. But something as simple as an autograph. I mean, come on, But I think on the last show we talked a little bit about the spring game, but I can't remember what all I talked about. But I do know I got a chance to go to that game, and I watched a guy by the name of AJ Turman. Now he's going to be a guy that probably gets a lot of playing time behind Nick Chubb. He had a really good spring game. I think he had 26 attempts, something like that, and he ran for 106 yards and a couple touchdowns. We all know Chubb is the guy. Chubb was the starting running back, but our running back depth is insane this year. Hopefully, we can get a healthy season out of Keith Marshall. This is his last year of eligibility. He was healthy his freshman year. I mean, freshman year he broke out. Everybody remembers the Todd Gurley Keith Marshall combo, but this is his last year, so hopefully we can get a good, healthy season out of him. Sonny Michel, he's had a really good freshman season. Of course, he was out a few games because of injury as well, but between Chubb, Turman, Keith Marshall, Sonny Michel, and, of course, Brendan Douglas, our running back depth is going to be insane this year. And is that Uncle Lou? Did he finally make it?
No, this is Junkyard Dog from Cartersville.
Oh, what's up?
Not much. Just wanted to talk to y'all real quick. Man, I'm getting aggravated with that stupid guy on Paul Palmer's show today.
I missed it. What was said?
Man, he's saying Missouri's going to win the East.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, now I guess I can't get mad at somebody saying that, but because they have won the East 2 years in a row. But my response to something like that is the fact that even though Missouri did win the East last year, I don't know if you know the guy on YouTube or whatever, but this Missouri dude or whatever, he straight out said last year that he thought Georgia was better than Missouri. I mean, we beat them 34-0. I mean, anybody with the right mind knows we were the better team. It's just that we screwed up and lost to Florida. But I think we're the better team than Missouri, but I can't blame somebody for picking Missouri. You see what I'm saying?
I see, but how in the heck can you say Missouri got a better defense than Georgia?
Well,
after what we did
that remains to be seen this year. I don't think that's going to be the case this year, but I do think last year Missouri had a better pass rush. That's about all they had. That's what made their defense look. That's what made that defense look really good. Is because with the way their pass rush was, they took so much pressure off the secondary. They would get to the quarterback like within a few seconds, and the quarterback wouldn't have time to throw the ball to the secondary. So I think it was their pass rush that just made their defense look better as a whole. But they're going to be lacking that this year because they lost their best two pass rushers. So we'll see what they're made of this year. So, but appreciate you calling in. It's Junkyard
Not
Dog.
a problem. I'll call back later when Uncle Lou gets in, and we'll really get it going then.
Yeah, he should be here in about 6 minutes or so. It's like 5:14. He said he'll be home around 5:20. So yeah, if you want to call back in, that'll be good. So we'll be here.
All right, Maverick. Talk to you later.
All right, take it easy, man. Yeah, that's a Junkyard Dog. He's actually one of the guys me and Uncle Lou met up with at the spring game. I met him once early last season too at the Tennessee game. We showed up real early and we went to the SEC Nation. Everybody knows that little pregame show, and I met up with Junkyard Dog and Uncle Lou, and had a blast that day as well. So he's a really cool guy, big Georgia fan. Collects a lot of autographs at the game. Oh man, he actually helped because he was one of the people up like really like right alongside the hedges, and I was struggling trying to get to where he was to try to get some autographs. So he like reached back and got my helmet for me, and was able to get a couple autographs for him on my helmet. So he's a really cool guy. So, but yep. As far as the team as a whole this year, I read a lot of different articles, and I've seen where some people have us ranked 6th, some people have us ranked 10th, but for the most part, I see yeah, we're going to be preseason ranked top 10. That's about right. I mean, I don't expect to be the top 5 just yet because we really haven't, I guess, done enough to show that we belong in the top 5 on a consistent basis. I think our run defense definitely has to improve this year. And we did have some nasty recruits coming in, so hopefully that'll help out on the defensive side of the ball, like ASAP. Of course, everyone probably knows the big name Trent Thompson, number 1 player in the country, and from what I'm hearing, I mean, if everything I'm hearing is true about this guy, he's going to be an instant impact. Of course, it's just tough to say. I mean, it's really hard for me to jump on the bandwagon of somebody that's never played a down of college football. I mean, that's one of the things I get real nervous about doing because we hear so many good things about these type of players, especially these 5-stars. Like a lot of these 5-stars are so hyped up. But, you've always got that situation where, a few of them may never work out. For example, several years ago, we got Ray Drew. Ray Drew was a 5-star prospect, and he just never developed into the talent we thought he was going to be. I know, I think his best season was probably his junior year. He pretty much played in smaller roles his freshman and sophomore year. He didn't play a lot, but his junior year, he had a breakout season. I think he had 6 or 7 sacks or something like that in his junior year, and really didn't do much last year at all. I think he had a few sacks here and there, but that's just a perfect example of somebody that is a 5-star that's hyped up a lot, but never actually accomplished anything. And that's one of the reasons I hate jumping on the bandwagons of these 5-star players. I mean, I know it's not Keith Marshall's fault that he's, had some injury issues, but, his freshman season, he was, again, 5-star player. Freshman year, alongside Todd Gurley, breakout season, and then boom, next 2 years he's been hurt. So hopefully we'll get a healthy season out of him. It's just that, you never know with these guys. I think the trick is a lot of these 3-stars, the 3-stars and 4-star guys. I think those, more times than not, those are the guys I think that makes your football team. I'm not sure how many people remember this, but if you guys remember, David Green and David Pollock, coming out of high school, they were 3-star players. They were not 4- and 5-star guys, and they turned out to be the stars of the team. David Green, star quarterback, led UGA to an SEC title in 2002, and David Green had 14 sacks in 2002 or 2003. Monster all over the place. Those guys played like 6 stars. I mean, you just never know. I just think it's the 3- and 4-star guys that usually end up making your team, but. It is what it is. And speaking of recruits, I've been paying a little. I mean, it's really early right now to be paying attention to next year's recruiting class, but we've got some really good recruits coming in for this next season as well. So, it seems like Mark Richt is finally swinging for the fences, taking chances, and that's what he's with Grayson Lambert coming in, and I know before him we had the talks of Everett Golson. There was rumors that Everett Golson could come to UGA, but he faced the problems because the SEC has like some, I guess, stricter transfer rules than everybody else, and he didn't like meet the qualifications or something.
All right, Magnum. It looks like you have a caller, or possibly this is Uncle Lou.
Good morning.
Oh, finally you show up, you prick.
Yeah, I'm a little late, but yeah, I'm here. But yeah, with Everett Golson, the SEC has some kind of weird rule where if you've ever been academically suspended from your previous school, then you can't enroll in the SEC school without getting a waiver. And because Golson was suspended for that year for academic fraud, he technically wasn't allowed to enroll in an SEC school unless he was able to get a waiver. So that's why he ended up in the ACC.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, I think that's the main reason why he didn't end up at UJ, because when Mark Richt brought in Grayson Lambert, that told me right then and there that we had to have been looking at Everett Golson, because it's clear to me now that Richt wanted a quarterback in here. He's not really confident with the three quarterbacks we had, so there's no doubt in my mind that Richt wanted Golson. Nobody can convince me otherwise now.
Yeah, I think so too, and I don't know, you probably already talked about Jacob Park and him transferring now. That's something me and you have kind of talked about over the last couple of weeks too, but, you know,
I
just inevitable, really.
I mentioned that earlier, but something else now. I don't know if you heard about it. The coaches are trying to talk Jacob Park into staying, but the thing is, I don't know why, because we have that would give us 4 quarterbacks on the roster. We don't need 4 quarterbacks, you know.
Right.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do with 4 quarterbacks? Somebody's going to transfer, period. They're not going to see any playing time.
Yeah, and it was a little different with Hudson Mason because he was the obvious number 2 guy. You look at the guys that are there now, there's really not an obvious number 1, and so really you don't know whether you're second in line, third in line, and then of course you've got the the Eason kid coming in next year, hopefully. And these guys are freshmen and sophomores. They read the internet and they read these websites and everything just like me and you do. They know that this is pretty much their only year, and if it doesn't look like they're going to get any playing time this year, I definitely wouldn't blame them at all for wanting to transfer.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, and I kind of got on some of the Georgia fans I've been seeing, like some of these Georgia groups on Facebook and other sites. They were all down in Jacob Park, dude. Like they were saying, oh, if he transfers, he was never a real dog to begin with. It's like, oh, we don't need him. And I'm like, I was like, okay, you guys just need to turn in your UGA card and shut the fuck up, okay? These are kids that want to play, and it's
right.
starting to really piss me off to see this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's hard, but put yourself in the shoes of one of these kids. I mean, even a third-string quarterback in the SEC was the best player on their team in Pee Wee football, in midget football, in middle school football. They were the best player on their team. In high school football, they were the best player on their team. Now they get to Georgia or wherever, and they're sitting third on the depth chart with another guy getting ready to come in next year. It's not a situation that they're used to, and these kids want to play. I mean, yeah, it's great to be able to say you played football for the University of Georgia, but if you never really played, these kids want to play. They don't just want to be on the team. I don't blame them at all.
And it's like I said when we first started the show, here's something I guarantee. If Mike Bobo comes calling and offers Jacob Park a starting job right away, he's gone. I guarantee you. If Bobo comes calling, he's gone.
Yeah, not even I don't think anybody's going to come and guarantee Jacob Park a starting job when he's never taken a snap of college football. But if a coach can convince him that he'll have an honest opportunity to compete for the starting job, I think that would be enough to make him leave. And
well, the only difference here is Bobo recruited Park, so he knows. I think he would probably know Park on a personal level more so than everybody else. That's why I mentioned
right.
Bobo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see something like that happening. I could also see him maybe trying the junior college route for a year or two and then transferring back into a bigger program for his senior year.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, you want to keep everybody you sign. I mean, you know, I hear you, you know, 4 quarterbacks. We don't need 4 quarterbacks. Yeah, we don't need 4 quarterbacks, but, you know, I never want to lose anybody. I'm not saying I'm glad that he's leaving. I'm just saying I understand the thought process of these kids when they get stuck on the depth chart and feel like they're never going to get a chance to play. You know, it's kind of arrogant for us as fans to say, well, he's not a real dog because he won't ride the bench for 4 years. It's hard for a kid to do that.
Yeah, it really is. And there, some of these same people were talking about Terry Godwin. Now, I'm sure you know by now he was drafted in the 33rd round by the Atlanta Braves, and you got some schmucks out there that are saying, well, if he decides to play baseball, he was never really a true dog. And I'm just, you know, I'm getting sick of hearing that, you know. And you know, if these guys didn't want to play for the University of Georgia, they wouldn't have committed in the first damn place. And
right.
For all those that don't know, he's not going to go and play for the Atlanta Braves. He was looking for to be drafted high because him and his parents, they wanted a lot of money if he was drafted. In the 33rd round, I'm sorry, you're going to get chump change. So you people just need to settle going.
He's looking at playing summer ball somewhere or maybe single A, and these guys aren't making any money. I mean, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. It's not like, you know, it's not like you're an instant millionaire by getting drafted in the 33rd round of the. You know, most people that are drafted that late never even see a major league roster. So I don't know what he's going to decide, but whatever he decides, it's his decision to make. And I'll be honest, I really, really hope he stays on with UGA just because he plays the position that you know, we're in desperate need of. You know, wide receiver. He's our best receiver that we signed this year. So, you know, without him, we're going another year without bringing in a top-notch receiver.
Yeah, and the thing with him is too, it's like if he's wanting to make a lot of money, you know, and being drafted in the 33rd round of Major League Baseball, that's not going to do it. Play football, because if you show out in college football and you do good enough and you get drafted at even in the first or second round of the NFL, you're gonna make so much more money. I mean, to me, this would just be a sign to go the football route.
Yeah, and if Eason is as good as advertised, one of our receivers over the next 3 years is going to end up in the NFL because somebody's going to have to catch all the touchdown passes he's supposedly going to be throwing. So some receiver is going to have padded stats from playing with Eason for 3 years. It could be him. And, you know, hopefully he's thinking about these things and not just thinking about, you know, a quick $50,000 payday as opposed to, you know, what he could do 3-4 years down the road in the NFL draft, potentially.
What's that receiver's name that committed to South Carolina? But him and Eason were really good friends, and he was like recruiting him really hard to come play at UGA, and then all of a sudden, like a week or two ago, this receiver decommits from South Carolina, and rumors are that Eason is going to be the reason he commits to UGA. What do you think about that?
I remember reading that story. I don't remember the kid's name, and I haven't looked into it since I saw that initial story on, I think it was Facebook a while back, so I don't know too much about it. But it's no secret that right now Jacob Eason is probably the best recruiter on UGA's staff.
Oh, no doubt, man. Like
he's definitely going out of his way to try to get some guys enrolled at UGA, which is great news because to me that tells me that he's still 100% committed to UGA despite the Bobo situation and things like that. I really think it would take a complete meltdown in Athens this season for Eason to reconsider his decision. You know, something like a 6-6 or 7-5 year for him to reconsider. He's as solid of a commitment as I've ever seen from a junior. there are no guarantees, of course, until they sign on the dotted line. They're free to do whatever they want. But, as far as saying the right things and doing the right things, everything he says and does leads me to believe that he's 100% committed to UGA. And, I just keeping my fingers crossed that it stays that way.
Well, there's also, this is a more recent story. I read this one a few days ago where there's again, I can't remember his name, but he's a 5-star offensive lineman that committed to the University of Alabama. And apparently Eason has been trying to recruit him for his services. And I'm not sure how all that's going to end up because you never know. But from what I read, Eason was actually going after him pretty hard. Now, if Eason helps flip several commits, from other teams, and now we're not talking about 3 stars here. Again, I mean, I know these guys never played it down in college football, but that receiver from South Carolina was a 4-star, and now he's trying to bring over somebody who's a 5-star committed to the University of Alabama, an offensive lineman at that. And if Eason can help court some of these guys, I mean, holy shit.
Yeah, and what you have to remember is that Eason is at every one of these big-time camps that goes on. He's at the Elite 11 right now. So he's constantly surrounded by the most highly recruited high school football players in the country, week in and week out at these camps. And he's talking to them. And like you said, it's not like we need him to get, he's not gonna recruit 10 5-stars to UGA. That's not what you're looking for. But if he can flip 1 or 2 guys, 2 or 3 guys from wherever they're leaning towards UGA, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we just look at the job he's doing right now with, helping recruiting. To me, that shows a little bit of his work ethic as well. He's not a lazy guy. So I think we're seeing that, when he comes to UGA, he's going to be in that film room. He's going to be getting the reps more so than I think your average person. He's one of the guys that's going to work overtime to make sure that he does his part and he helps UGA win. That's what I'm getting from Eason. And I think we got a caller.
Good evening. It's the Junkyard Dog coming live from Cartersville.
Welcome back.
What's up, buddy? Not much. Welcome. Hey, that Eason, I'm telling you, up here in Cartersville, Richard Samuels went to Cast High, which is 15 minutes from Cartersville. Nick Chubb went from Cedartown. Eason, and these are just rumors right now, but there's other recruits out there that nobody's talking about that Eason's going after. And non-commits are still.
Yeah.
He's bringing a squad with him.
Yeah, I really think we're going to wind up with the number 1 recruiting class. And if we can hang on to Eason, I think we're going to wind up with the number 1 recruiting class in the nation next year. And, Eason will definitely be a big part of why that happens if it does. I mean, he's not been shy. I mean, he's been very vocal. And like I said, he's doing and saying all the right things. And, I feel bad every time I talk about him in a way because here we are getting ready to start the 2015 season and we spend an inordinate amount of time talking about Eason in the 2016 season. But, I mean, this is the highest ranked recruit UGA's gone after in a very long time, and to have him committed, it is exciting. Some other schools like Alabama or whoever might get these players every year, but let's face it, at UGA we don't. Yeah, we have great recruiting classes, but you're talking about bringing in somebody like Eason. I mean, that's not the type of player that we get every year.
No, Nick Chubb and Gurley were 2 exceptions back-to-back years.
Yeah.
That was just an exception for Georgia right there. We don't get
and we've had with running back we've had more. I mean, if you look at the success we've had with quarterbacks over the last few years, with the exception of Matt Stafford, we really haven't had an NFL quarterback on our team in the last 15, 20 years, really. David Green broke all the records, then Aaron Murray came and broke all those records. They were great quarterbacks, but they weren't NFL quarterbacks. They fit well into the system that Rick and Bobo had set up. They had some good pieces around them. David Green especially had amazing defenses all 4 years he was there. Murray, not so much. Murray had to do it more, more on the offensive side of the ball, but
and more on more of just praying his receivers stayed healthy.
Right. But running backs is something that we've never really had a problem getting. I mean, even when you go all the way back to people, Thomas Brown and, these guys. I mean, not all these guys panned out and, were monster running backs, but they were, they were very highly recruited out of high school. Not all of them worked out. Isaiah Crowell, we got him a few years back. He was a top 5 running back. He didn't work out at UGA, but he's playing every week in the NFL now. So running back is something that we every couple of years or so we get one of these monster running backs. But quarterback isn't a position, and we usually get the best quarterback out of the state of Georgia. But that's not usually a top 10 or top 15 quarterback nationwide. Matt Stafford out of Texas being the exception, and now Eason out of Washington State. So it's not like this happens all the time. So I hear people telling me all the time, you spending too much time worrying about Eason in 2016. What about this year? But that's why I'm excited about Eason. I'm excited about the things that he's doing, the guys that he's trying to get to come in with him next year. But I get it. That is next year. Here we are about 100 days away from the season starting in 2015.
88 to be exact.
88, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Sir. But hey, while we have a caller, I want to bring this up so we can get a third person's thoughts on this. But I was reading an article earlier today, and I can't remember if it was from Saturday Down South or 24/7 Sports or who it was from, but they went through each SEC team and predicted each team's first loss of the season and who it would be against. And it laid out some reasons why and things like that. And it said in the beginning of the article that they don't think any SEC team is going undefeated this year. So they think every team's going to have at least one loss. And in this article, they listed each team and who their first loss would be against. And there was a few interesting things in there that I want to bring up real quick and get both of y'all's thoughts on. But, of course, we'll start with Georgia. They had our first loss of the season. Now, keep in mind, yes, we want to go undefeated, but if we're going to have a loss, this was pretty exciting that they think this, but they have our first loss of the season coming at Auburn, which means they have us beating Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Missouri, Florida, everybody up until Auburn. What do y'all think about that? Magnum, I know that's not what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, well, no, but you know what? If I'm gonna be honest, if we could beat South Carolina, if we could beat Alabama, if we could beat Tennessee, we beat Missouri, that means we beat Florida, and our one loss is to Auburn. As much as I would hate that, I think that would all but guarantee us the SEC East.
Right, and probably a rematch with Auburn 2 weeks after. Yeah,
well, whether it be Auburn or Alabama, whether it be Auburn or Alabama, I guess it don't matter. But that means we would sweep the SEC East, and really that's where it starts. You want to like win the games in your division first. Granted, SEC games are important, period, but you want to win your division. But I would actually take that because I think that would mean we would win the East.
Yeah, I feel the same way about South Carolina that you feel about Auburn. And if I could look into a crystal ball and know that we would lose to South Carolina, but that would be our only loss and we'd win the East, I'd take it every year, as much as I hate South Carolina. But I thought, I was pretty blown away by that because, of course, everybody knows the Alabama game is huge this year. I'm more worried about the Tennessee game, I think, than you are, Magnum. We talked about that on the last show. But it's not so much Tennessee's team that I'm worried about as it is the spot that we have to play them. If we do beat Alabama on October 3rd, then we've got to go on the road that very next week to Tennessee. I do think that's going to be a tough game. Back-to-back weeks like that, emotional games. But I don't know. It was an interesting article, and I agree. I would be surprised if anybody went undefeated this year out of the SEC. So I'll take the one loss and a trip to Atlanta. And the thing is, if you can make the trip to Atlanta with 1 or 2 losses, then you're one win away from the playoffs. I still can't, even though the SEC hasn't won the title the last 2 years, it's still pretty unanimously considered to be the best conference in America. So I can't see a 1 or a 2 loss SEC team that wins the championship game being left out of the playoffs. So I would pretty much take a trip to Atlanta any way I can get it, knowing that puts us 1 win away from the playoff.
Well, if we did lose to Auburn, if that's the only loss they have us, if that's the only loss they have us marked down, then that means if we win the SEC title, we would be a 1-loss team, and I don't see the playoff committee keeping a 1-loss SEC champion out of the playoffs. I think
no,
that would guarantee us a playoff spot if we won the SEC with 1 loss.
Yeah,
I totally agree with y'all.
Junkyard Dog, what game? Forget the Alabama game. It's pretty much unanimous that pretty much every Georgia fan, that's the game they're looking forward to this year. We know it's going to be a tough game, so just forget that game because it's kind of the obvious answer. But what's the other game on the schedule this year that you're either most looking forward to or most worried about as far as being a potential loss?
Like you said, Uncle Lou, the Tennessee game, because if we go in and beat Bama at home, it's either going to be a night game or it's going to be the 3:30 game of that week. Having to get back up and go to Knoxville, and you know how those Knoxville fans are, just outrageous and obnoxious as anything. That's the game that concerns me the most right there, the Tennessee game. If we beat Tennessee, we should have no problem running the table.
Yeah, I really think Georgia has the potential to have a great year this year.
Auburn has that Duke Williams as receiver. They got their quarterback. They're skeptical on their defensive end, on their defensive backs.
The defense in general is trash.
Right.
Yeah, the best player on their defense is Will Muschamp. Period. The best player. This is going to be a test for Will Muschamp for sure. How good is he for real? Because that Auburn defense was not good for the last couple of years. So, how good is Will Muschamp? Can he take those same players and drastically improve them the way that Jeremy Pruitt did with the Georgia defense? I mean, we went from a basically trash defense in 2013 to a very, very good, I wouldn't say great, but a very, very good defense in 2014. And he's going to have to do something similar to that in Auburn if they're going to have a chance to win the SEC. But it's funny, almost every prediction I see for the SEC this year is either Auburn or Georgia. Not very many people picking Alabama this year, which I actually agree with that assessment. I'm just a little bit surprised just because it seems like forever now that everyone has just automatically wrote Alabama in as the SEC champion without even really thinking about it. And this is the first year that I'm starting to see that change a little bit.
Well, the reason I'm not really sold on Alabama is, their defense is still going to be, probably pretty good, but let's be honest. Over the last several years, their defense has been declining. It's not uncommon to see Alabama give up 30, 40 points a game now, and they're replacing nine starters on offense. They've only got two returning starters on offense. That's usually a sign of a rebuilding season. Uh-oh. Did we lose somebody?
No, I'm still here. Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lou may have lost.
Sorry about that. My phone disconnected on me. So
yeah, see, That's what I thought. I was like, uh-oh, do we lose him?
But, you know,
But no,
getting back to that
but I said I'm not really sold on Alabama either because, well, I mean, like I said, let's be honest. Over the last couple of years, their defense has been, it's still been pretty good, but you can see it's been declining. It's not uncommon to see Alabama give up 40 points on defense now, and they're returning only 2 starters on offense. That's usually a sign of a rebuilding year. That's not a recipe for success.
Yeah. Now, most of the teams that have been able to put up points on Alabama have done it through the air, and that's my concern. But with that being said, if we can get the quarterback situation worked out and rolling by week 4 or 5 when we play Alabama, you know, we can't have a season where we don't have a single game where we throw over 200 yards again. I will internally explode if that happens. I mean, we have to be able to throw the ball, not just against Alabama. I mean, against any good team. But if we can get the passing game going, it wouldn't surprise me if we beat Alabama by 10-14, and it not even really be that close of a game. I mean, they've been terrible against the pass. Terrible. I mean, more so against spread teams, but just the pass in general, they've just been terrible the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, Oklahoma threw it all over them a couple of years ago. West Virginia threw it all over them last year. They've just been, I don't know what is going on, because you look it seems like every team in the NFL has an Alabama safety on their team. But for whatever reason, they've just struggled against the pass. And if we're able to get it going through the air, where they're not able to put 7-8 guys in the box, I don't think they can hang with us at all. I don't even think it'll be close if that's the guy. Like I think it wouldn't surprise me if we won by 10-14.
Well, I definitely agree. We definitely need a better passing game because, I mean, you were talking about Alabama struggling against the pass. I mean, look at the games. I know they beat Auburn 55-44, and, of course, they lost to Ohio State. But Auburn and definitely Ohio State, they ran the ball all over Alabama. Ezekiel Elliott had, over 200 yards? And like I said, Alabama's defense as a whole has, been suspect. I'm not really impressed with anything that Alabama has defensively. I mean, the years past they were intimidating, but those days are gone. I mean, you see running backs running for 200 yards on Alabama now. That ought to tell you something.
Yeah, I mean they do have they've got NFL linebackers. I'll just be honest. I can't name any of their defensive linemen. They lost their best safety, their best defensive back to the NFL. Now, they've had the number 1 recruiting class for 5, 6, 7 years in a row, so that they're loaded with potential. But until you see it on the field, even if you're an Alabama fan, I mean, it seems to me you've got to be a little bit nervous heading into this year. You've got no quarterback. Your running back situation even is sketchy. I like Derrick Henry. He's a good running back, but I actually read an article on him the other day. Something like 75% of his yards have came in the second half. He's a big bowling ball type of guy. Derrick Henry just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's gonna start the game off, running the ball. He's more of a closer. Yeldon's coming off an injury, so you don't really know what you're going to get with him.
Well, Yeldon's in the NFL now.
Yeah, Yeldon's in the NFL.
Who's the other one?
Kenyon Drake, I believe.
Kenyon Drake. Yeah, he broke his leg.
He's the one coming off that nasty leg injury.
Right.
So, I think he's going to be like Steve Marshall.
I mean, I get it. It's Alabama, but I said it in my video the other day, and it was a trash talk video, but really there was a lot of truth in what I was saying. The days of Alabama beating people by getting off the bus, those days are over. I just don't think Alabama is the dominant team. Now, they're still a great team. They're a top 10 team. You don't even have to think about it. If you put out a top 10 and Alabama's not in it, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying they're not any good, but the days of them just dominating people and winning before the game ever even starts, those days are over. I mean, they're gonna have to earn it. They're just not the same. 2008 to 2012, those days are gone.
Yeah, when it comes to Alabama, like especially this year, like you, it's like I used to be able to name a lot of guys on their roster, but now there's only a few that I can even think of right off the top of my head. I mean,
that's how I am. And yeah, I'm a Georgia fan, but more than that, I'm a huge college football fan. And I used to be able to name half their team. And I can't do it anymore. We had the same conversation halfway through the season last year about Mississippi State. I don't know if you remember when they were ranked number 1. And I actually asked you on the radio show one week, name 2 players from Mississippi State. Of course, everyone could name the quarterback. But then after that, it was a bunch of people walking around scratching their head. I couldn't name one other player on the team, and wound up they actually weren't all that good. But at the time they were ranked number 1, and that's sort of the feeling I get from Alabama now. Alabama fans don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. They've got decent running backs. They've got good linebackers. I can't name anybody in their secondary. I can't name. They do have a good offensive line. I'll give them that. Not as good as UGA's. Anyone will tell you that. Read a magazine. Read an internet article. Georgia's got a top 2 or 3 offensive line in the country. I mean, it's not a coincidence that every running back we put in the game averages 6, 7, or 8 yards a carry. That's unheard. That just doesn't happen. We've got good running backs, but we don't have 4 Todd Gurleys on our team. But still, you put anybody back there, they're getting. I mean, Sony Michel averaged 8 yards a carry last year. Chubb averaged almost 7. Gurley averaged almost 8. I mean, it's whoever we put back there was getting 7, 8 yards every time they touched the ball. That's offensive line. We returned 4 of 5 on the offensive line. We got to find out who's going to play center this year. But we returned 4 or 5 there. I'll take our offensive line against an Alabama defensive line that I can't name one player. And I know every player on that line was a top 5 recruit at defensive tackle or defensive end. I get it, but I can't name any of them. I'll take Georgia's offensive line over Alabama's defensive line. I think we have the edge in that matchup.
Oh, no.
We also have the edge on defense. Who are they going to throw the ball to this year?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
you take Amari Cooper away from Alabama last year, and they have easily 3 more losses.
Yeah, and they lost their 2 receivers. I think I'm trying to remember the other DeAndre
Christian Jones,
right? Or something. Yeah, they lost their. I think it may have been something DeAndre White or something. I don't know, but yeah, they lost their top 2 receivers, and they don't have a quarterback. Yeah, that does not really spell success. I mean, our pass defense last year was ranked number 1 in the SEC. Of course, we got to replace Damian Swann, but I think that's the kind of player that Damian Swann was good, but he wasn't elite. I think we can all agree with that. So I think that he can be replaced. Other than that, we return pretty much everybody in the secondary. So I think our pass defense is going to be really good again.
Yeah, and I'm not very concerned about the loss of Damian Swann either. He was good, like you said, but the biggest reason we had such a great rating against the pass last year, I think, had more to do with our front 7 than it did our back 5. We had good secondary play, definitely a drastic improvement over the 3 years prior. But when you as a quarterback don't have any time to throw the ball, it doesn't really matter how good or bad the secondary is.
Hey, Junkyard Dog, can you when you're not talking, can you mute your phone? We got a lot of background noise.
Yeah. Is the kid playing right now? Hold on. Is that better?
But you know what I mean? Your secondary, it doesn't really matter. Your secondary, okay, that's fine. But when you have Leonard Floyd and Lorenzo Carter and Jenkins. And I really like this guy we brought in from UAB, Ganis. I can't remember his first name now.
Oh, Jake Ganis. Yeah, man, I've been hearing a lot of good things about this guy.
Man, he looked good. I know it's just a spring game, but he was all over the place in the spring game. Every article I read is talking about how good he's been in practices and things. I mean, I almost feel sorry for opposing quarterbacks this year. They're just not going to have any time to throw the ball.
Yeah, well, it's like I was talking before you came in too. I really hate hyping up some recruit that's never played a down in college football. But if he plays like we've been hearing, then Trent Thompson is going to be hell. I mean, it's hard to say because he hasn't played a down in college football. But yeah, between him and then we got like you said, you named all those linebackers, man. Yeah, opposing quarterbacks have a whole lot of time.
Trent Thompson is going to help us in the area that we really need it the most, which is against the run. I mean, I don't need to remind either of you two about the Florida game or the Georgia Tech game, but the Florida game in particular, they just ran at least the Georgia Tech game. They try to trick you with the option crap that they do, but that Florida game, it was the exact same play over and over and over, and we couldn't stop it. And Trent Thompson is a guy that can play against the run. He can get to the quarterback, I guess, if he needs to, but he's a big guy up the middle, a big run stopper, and I think that's actually was our biggest weakness on defense last year.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing too, we know Jordan Jenkins can play linebacker and he can play on the line. He played a lot of defensive end last year, so I think we could definitely use him the same way again. Put him in situations where he plays linebacker and then put him on the line. Let's give these opposing offenses different looks. Let's confuse the shit out of them.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some very creative formations and play calling from our defense.
You have to. You have to. With all these guys we have.
Yeah. Jenkins, Floyd, and Carter are too talented to not be on the field 80% of the plays. You can't just say, well, they all three play the same position, so we can only play two at a time. No, you've got to have there's 3 or 4, 5 guys that have got to be on the field, 75, 80, 85% of the time. They're just too good. You've got to find ways to get them all out there at the same time. And I think Pruitt will do that.
Yeah. Just like you said, you also mentioned, Ganis, and Ganis, from everything I've been reading, and I'm sure what you've been reading, and like you said, we watched him at the spring game, and he was all over the place. The guy reminds me of Zach Thomas back in the day, like really undersized as a linebacker, but he was all over the field. He would just make the tackles and would just prevent the big play. So, you have Ganis, Floyd, Carter, Jenkins on the field at one time. Then you throw in Thompson on the line. I mean, holy shit! I mean, if this plays out like we see it happening, oh man, it could be a hell of a year on defense.
The potential is there. Now, I want to move on to one other team of interest here, of particular interest to Uncle Lou, but of interest to y'all too before we run out of time. But I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction here that this year, 2015, will be Steve Spurrier's last trip to Athens. Agree or disagree? I'm going to have to agree.
That's a really good question. Steve Spurrier's getting up there in age, and I think South Carolina's on the decline, and I honestly don't know how much more he can deal with. So, you know what? I'm going to have to agree with that because he may coach next year as well. But, I don't see him coaching another 3 or 4 years. I really don't. So I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I think this is going to be his last trip to Athens. I think maybe this year and next year. I think Carolina's going to be struggling to make a bowl game this year. They have to play at Texas A&M. That's a loss. They play at Georgia. That's a loss. I think Tennessee beats them. I think Missouri beats them. South Carolina and Florida, I think, is a toss-up. They'll probably beat Vanderbilt, and then they'll probably, I think they'll lose to Clemson. I mean, that's 6 losses there. I just think they're going to struggle to get they're going to be somewhere in the 5, 6, 7 win range this year. And at Spurrier's age, with the success that he's had, I just don't think he can endure too many 5, 6, 7 win seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's had a good run, and shit, everybody gets old. It happens, but yeah, I just don't see South Carolina competing this year or even next year, because the only thing they really have on offense that I can think of off the top of my head is wide receiver Pharaoh Cooper. Other than that, like, they're breaking in a new quarterback, new running back, new receivers besides Pharaoh Cooper, and defensively they were garbage last year, so I don't see why they would be any different this year. So yeah.
Yeah, Pharaoh Cooper's the real deal. He would probably start at any SEC team he played on. He's probably the best receiver in the SEC. But other than that, there's just no talent there. They really remind me of Tennessee about 4 years ago. You look at the team, you look at the recruiting boards, and you just then you look at the schedule, and you're trying, you're praying. Where are we going to find 6 wins here? I think they had their little run there where they had 3 10-win seasons in a row, or even an 11-win season, or whatever it was. Of course, they didn't do anything with it because they're South Carolina. But I think South Carolina is closer to becoming the team of 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 years ago. I think they're closer to that than they are to winning any type of SEC title or even an East title. I can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny though? It's like, okay, this is a team that in recent years they were able to recruit a guy like Marcus Lattimore and Jadeveon Clowney, and hell, even Melvin Ingram was really good. And how do you go from being able to recruit talent like that to just falling off? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, it makes me happy because I hate South Carolina. I hate Steve Spurrier. Spurrier is a hell of a coach, like you said. You got to give him his credit. The run he had at Florida was unbelievable, and even to do what he did at South Carolina was, next to impossible to do, and he did it. But let's wrap up real quick here with this will probably be the last show we do till I'm guessing August, but we're not going to go through any type of game-by-game thing or anything like that, but I want you to give me your order of finish in the SEC East and the SEC West. I'll go first in the East. I'm going to say Georgia wins the East. Tennessee comes in second. Missouri third. This is where it gets tough here. I'll say Florida fourth. South Carolina fifth. Kentucky 6, Vanderbilt 7.
You know what? Those are actually good picks. I'm going to switch one around. I'll say Georgia wins it, but I'm going to switch and put Missouri at number 2 and Tennessee at number 3. Like you said, we've talked a lot, and I'm sorry, until Tennessee proves me wrong, I'm going to think that they're still Tennessee as of right now. I mean, I just can't look at a team. I mean, yeah, they've been able to bring in some talent, but they just haven't been able to do anything. They haven't won more than 7 games in a season since 2008. I mean, it's been a long time since they were even mentioned as far as competing for the East. So I just can't do it yet. So yeah. Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee, 4th place. I'll go Florida, 5th place. South Carolina, 6th place. 6th place I'll go Kentucky. 7th I'll go Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. Now, I don't know if you saw the video, but one of our favorite two Tennessee Volunteer fans made a video a couple of days ago where he guaranteed a Tennessee win over Oklahoma. Just real quick, your thoughts on that. ACP Carter guarantees a Tennessee win over Oklahoma.
The thing. Okay, now I've talked with Carter in the past about that, and I can actually see why he's a little confident because, I mean, let's be real. Oklahoma did not have the greatest season last year either. You know, I mean, they were an 8-5 team. If Tennessee, here's the thing: if Tennessee can, I think, keep the game close, then I think they'll have a good shot of pulling it out. I mean, it is in Knoxville, so that's gonna help them. But if they come out sluggish and Oklahoma builds a quick, let's say 17-0 lead, I think it's over. But if Tennessee could come out with some fire and actually keep the game close, I think they got a shot. I mean, Oklahoma. I mean, just being honest here, they're not that good a football team right now. So I think Tennessee could, but I'm not going to sit here and guarantee it.
Yeah. Oklahoma lost a lot of talent off of last year's team. Playing in Tennessee will be a different, I'm not trying to knock the Pac-12 here, but playing at Tennessee will be unlike anything those kids at Oklahoma have ever experienced before. It wouldn't shock me at all for Tennessee to win that game. And just my last real quick thoughts here on Tennessee, and then we'll get to the West. But Tennessee, as good as they can be and as much potential as they have, they're a team more than any other, I think, that are 1 or 2 injuries away from barely making a bowl game again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If everything goes Tennessee's way, I could see them going 10-2. If everything goes their way, meaning those 1 or 2 close games that they have, they find a way to win both those games instead of lose them. They're going to have to stay injury-free, particularly at quarterback. They lose quarterback, all bets are off there. They're a team, I think, more so than any other that just can't afford any injuries. And Tennessee fans will be the first to say they just don't have the depth that they need to have. Starter-wise, I think they can compete with anybody. It's pure talent. But they don't know how to, winning is something you have to learn how to do. And I worry, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I worry about what's going to happen in one of those close games where they're so used to just finding a way to lose lately in the last few minutes of games rather than finding a way to win. That would concern me, and the injuries would concern me if I'm a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, man. Like I think they're a team that's definitely top heavy. Yeah, the depth is just not there. I mean, like you said, if they lose Dobbs, what do they have behind Dobbs? If they lose Jalen Hurd, what are they going to do? If they lose this, they're in the same situation with us. That Khalil McKenzie guy who's highly recruited. Okay, what if something happens? What if something happens to him? Yeah, they're in that same situation. They cannot afford a major injury. Period.
Yeah. First year this year in the NFL draft, and 30-something years, I think, not a single Tennessee player drafted. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Well, they would have had A.J. Johnson, but he
right.
decided to be a little stupid.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the West. We'll go in order here and try to wrap the show up, but I'll name my Uncle Lou's predicted order of finish for the West. I'm actually going to go with Auburn on top in the West this year, followed by Texas A&M, Alabama, third. Man, it's so hard for me to try to pick these Mississippi teams. I'm going to go Mississippi State fourth, LSU fifth, Ole Miss sixth. God, is Arkansas going to finish last again? Arkansas, the West really is tough, man. You're talking about putting Arkansas last in the West again? God, they're not a terrible team. But I got to put them seventh. But geez, Arkansas could win a lot of other. Arkansas could potentially win the ACC Coastal.
Well, the thing is, it's just I think. Well, let me name off mine first. I'm gonna go from seventh to first because my number one in the West is probably different than 99% of the people out there. But number 7, I'll agree with you as far as the Arkansas deal, and the reason I say Arkansas is because their defense and just it just has not been there. I mean, we know what Georgia did to them last year. Really, the only thing I really think that they're good at is the running game, and that's because they do have a great offensive line, and they do have a couple really good running backs. I'll give Arkansas that, but the passing game and the receivers just isn't there. And I mean, like you said, Arkansas probably could win the Coastal in the ACC, but they're just lacking in a lot of major areas. All right, my number 6. This is a major flip from what you have. My number 6, I'm actually going to go with Texas A&M. I know Chavis is there now, but he really those guys on the defense, they have to get adjusted to his system. And let's be honest, their defense has not really been good in since they've been in the SEC. I mean, their defense has been really suspect. Their offense, I mean, it's probably still going to be good, but I do think that this is going to be a year where they struggle on offense more so than they have in the past. There again, I mean, it's not like they're going to be a terrible team. I mean, but I'm just in the West. I just got to put them about 6th. 5th place, I'm actually going to go with Ole Miss. Their defense should probably be really good again, but their offense is going to be downright sewage. They lost Bo Wallace, and I know they're going to have that Treadwell kid back, but overall, offensively, they're just going to be inept. I think. I don't think Treadwell alone is going to be enough. I think the defense is. I think their defense is going to win them probably 99% of their games. 4th place. 4th place, I'll go Mississippi State. I can't really see too much of any drop off from last year. I mean, I still think that they're going to be a respectable team. I mean, they probably, as far as the SEC is concerned, Dak Prescott probably could be considered the best quarterback in the SEC this year. So, I mean, that goes
for sure.
Do what?
I think for sure the best returning quarterback for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, and having the best quarterback, that'll take you a long way. So,
right.
4th place, I'll go Mississippi State. 3rd place, I'm going to go Auburn. Their defense, I just think is going to be trash again. Offensively, Gus Malzahn. I've seen enough of Gus Malzahn to know that they're probably they'll still be good offensively, but I don't think they're going to be as good offensively this year as they were last year. They're having to replace what's his goddamn name?
Can you hear me, Derek? Derek? Uncle Lou?
He may have there.
Is this Uncle Lou?
Yeah, this is Uncle Lou here.
What's going on, man?
What's up, buddy?
Not much. Am I live?
You live on the air.
Yeah. So I guess you know who this is?
Yeah, sounds like Noel.
Who?
Noel.
Who's that?
Yeah. What's up?
My kids were like, is he real? I said, yeah, I think he is. Let's try this number. So I got through.
Yeah, it's real.
They're like, well, what are you going to ask him about football? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just had to break in this show,
Yeah, well, we appreciate the call.
All right, do you need me to bring you a couple of margaritas?
No, I'm good.
Oh, Rebecca's sitting out there now. She's like, Are you really talking? I was like, yeah. Well, I didn't know you were all live like this. I thought I was, being recorded.
No, it's live. It's being broadcast right now, sir, to at least 10 or 15 people.
Okay. But, so what do you think about the episode that you saw the other day? Remember you sent me that message asking me if I had done something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All that
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah. Doesn't have anything to do with football, but it was a life and death situation,
I guess.
I did what Uncle Lou would have done.
You handled it the best way you could, I guess.
Yeah. Who was that laughing?
Yeah. Well. All right, man. Let us get back to this list here.
I will. I'm gonna keep listening too.
All right, buddy. Bye.
All right, Lou.
All right. Go ahead, Mags.
All right. Anyway, yep. My number 3 is Auburn. Like I was saying, I think we've seen enough of Gus Malzahn to know that he can put a good offense together year in and year out. But the loss of Nick Marshall, they lost Cameron Artis-Payne. They lost. I know they got Duke Williams back. I forget the other guy's name, but they lost him. He's gone. I just think they're kind of in the same situation as Alabama offensively. I think they'll still be pretty good, but I think they lost a little too much, in my opinion, to be competitive. I just think that they lost a little too much to win the West. So and of course their defense is ass. So that's pretty much why I picked Auburn number 3. Well, let me go ahead and name my number 1, because once I say number 2, it's going to be obvious who my number 1 is. My number 1 team that I think is going to win the West is LSU. Now, a lot of people are what'd you say?
I said, wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. My number 1 team is a little different than everybody else's. But the reason I say that, LSU has been flying under the radar the last couple years. And LSU is never a team that stays mediocre for too long. I think that their defense is going to be up there again. I think this is the year. They're going to catch some people sleeping. And let's not forget, I do know that Les Miles can be a dumbass at times, but Les Miles has also been known to get really lucky at sometimes. He could pull some shit out of the hat. I mean, I just think that LSU is going to sneak in there and win the West this year. So of course it's obvious Alabama's my number 2, but too many people they've been sleeping on LSU the last several years, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me that LSU is never a team that's going to stay in the middle of the pack as far as the West goes for too long. I mean that. LSU.
I agree, and I actually think that LSU has the second best player in the SEC behind Nick Chubb and Leonard Fournette. I think that kid is the real deal. Unfortunately for LSU, I think Leonard Fournette is a little bit of a knucklehead. I think he's a little arrogant, a little cocky. Maybe I'm holding it against him a little too much, but I forget. I think it was the first or second game of the year last year as a true freshman. He scored a meaningless touchdown and did the Heisman pose. I wanted to go through the TV and choke the shit out of him. And ever since then, I just haven't liked him at all. But talent-wise, you can't argue with what the guy can do. But quarterback, they have one of the worst quarterback situations in the SEC. You talk about who's going to be Alabama's quarterback. Auburn's replacing a quarterback. Georgia's replacing a quarterback. LSU needed to replace some quarterbacks. They're terrible. And I don't know. There's no way I can see them winning. I just can't see it.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how everything plays out. I mean, there again, it's damn June, and we're sitting here making predictions. But for all we know, both of us could be wrong. And instead of Arkansas finishing 7th, they finish first. Wouldn't that be some shit?
Wouldn't that be something? Then we can replay this show, and everybody can laugh at us. But anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, well, yeah, we appreciate the, like you said, 10 or 15 people that were listening. Appreciate Junkyard Dog calling in a couple times, and of course, always appreciate you letting us do the show, Ray. I know we kind of just talked to you late last week about doing the show this week, so we definitely appreciate you putting this on for us.
Not a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, and we'll start back. I guess the three of us can talk or whatever, but we'll start back on a regular schedule as it gets closer to the season started. I think last year we did maybe 2 shows before the season started, and that probably sounds about right. Do a couple of preseason shows, and then of course we'll be doing it through the year if we can get everything worked out. And but yeah, it's always a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for listening. Sorry I was a little late today, guys, but it is what it is. Busy living life off of Bluetooth. Yep. But anyway, I had a good time as always. I love these shows. I could talk about football 24 hours a day. So to do it for an hour or 2 once a week on the radio is no big deal for me. But yep, don't forget to go to YouTube, search for Uncle Lou, watch every day like you're supposed to. It'll make you smarter. And thanks, Magnum. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for calling in, and I will talk to you guys later. Good morning.
Appreciate you guys listening, and we will be back with you probably, sometime in August to get a couple preseason shows in. But other than that, the only one thing left to say, go Dogs. Appreciate it, Ray.
All right.